The Delphi homicide investigation is moving into a new direction. Indiana State Police say they are giving a statement about this on Monday in Delphi. The public is welcome to attend and are encouraged to attend by ISP Sergeant Kim Riley. Riley wasn't able to tell us a whole lot, but he did provide some information that the public needs to know. He says, first of all, no arrests or warrants have been issued, and the public needs to come out to hear what they have to say. The information provided on Monday will help the public better understand what is going on in the case. We have provided all the information on your screen. You'll see that here in a second. The briefing will be given at the Canal Center in Delphi. That's 10 North Washington Street, and doors open at 11:30 in the morning. And ISP Superintendent Doug Carter will make the announcement at noon. I was able to talk to a couple of community members in Delphi. They say, like everyone else, they are hoping for a significant break in the case, but they say they know how hard law enforcement has been working to find any details.
And obviously everyone hopes to hear that they've kind of found who did it, they've had it solved, and we can have some resolution to this. But I don't think that's quite going to happen yet, but obviously that'd be great news. I think that there's probably going to be some more details, some more information maybe that the community can look out for.
I think you'll have a great response. Even people that, really don't even know much about it, but they live in the community, they're going to go because it just hangs over the community.
It's now been more than 2 years since Libby German and Abbie Williams were killed on the Monon High Trail. And 2 years ago this month, investigators released pictures of the suspect along with an audio clip taken on Libby German's phone. This Monday could bring some of the most significant news to the case since those releases.
Fading posters line business windows in Delphi, begging for answers still in a double homicide that has haunted that town for more than 2 years. But tonight, a sliver of hope. State police plan to share what's being called significant news on the investigation into who killed Abbie Williams and Libby German in 2017, and the community is ready to hear it. Thanks for joining us tonight at 10. I'm Dan Spieler.
And I'm Beershell and May in for Fanchon Stinger. A source tells Fox 59 that there were no arrests here, but state police will announce a new direction in this investigation, and they will do that on Monday.
Fox 59's Haley Bowe went to Delphi tonight. She has a closer look at what people are hoping to hear. Haley.
We're expecting details of that significant news to be announced here. While community members wait to learn what that information might be, they're making sure the girls in this case are not forgotten. The ribbons, the tip lines, the photos plastered on doors and windows throughout Delphi.
Just to continue to pray for those families because they need it.
Reminders of Abbie Williams and Libby German and the search for their killer.
I don't want people to forget what that person looks like.
Like many in the community, Ann Hughes doesn't.
We rise up out of tragedies, but still people are scared. That's not going to go away until justice comes for both of those girls.
The teens were found murdered in February 2017. Later that month, investigators released this photo of the suspect and audio. They say Libby recorded both of those on her phone. Now state police say they'll hold a news conference about the new direction of the investigation Monday. A source tells us there's no arrest, but they consider this significant news.
I think everybody gets a glee of hope when they hear that there's going to be a news conference of anything.
That's a good thing. They're not giving up. We're still on it.
James Griffith keeps the photos on the mirror in his barbershop too.
They're angels. There are angels. They're watching over us.
To make sure people like this client who's visiting town and passing through know what happened.
I hope they catch the guy for sure.
But while everyone waits to hear what police have to say,
Delphi's always stuck together.
this community will do what it's always done. The news conference is open to the public. Doors open at 11:30 a.m. Monday here at the Canal Center. In Delphi, Haley Boole, Fox 59 News.
And you will be able to watch Monday's update on air and online at fox59.com.
Police have released very few clues into who killed Abbie and Libby.
24 hours, state police will be releasing new information in the murders of Abbie Williams and Libby German, calling this a significant update as the Delphi investigation moves in a new direction. Tonight, we are hearing from Libby's mother and her mindset going into tomorrow.
There's not a day that goes by that I don't think of her, miss her, cry about it.
Today is the day. It's the line they've repeated and the hope they've held on to for nearly 800 days.
It's been long enough. We've waited long enough.
Abbie Williams and Libby German, two Delphi teenagers murdered in February of 2017. Detectives released a picture of the killer, a sketch, and even this audio clip. But the case still remains unsolved.
It's mind-boggling to me. I don't get it, but I hope that one day soon we'll have an answer.
Answers could be just hours away. Tomorrow, state police are holding a press conference saying they have a significant update in the case, and the investigation is moving in a new direction.
I'm not real sure what to think of the words new direction, but if it's a new direction that gets us closer to the end, then I'm all for it.
Carrie Timmons is Libby's mother. Just like everyone else, she's speculating on what the new information could be. She considers any clue to be a major development.
We don't really know anything, so to know something about the case and something that hopefully can move us forward, that's absolutely huge regardless.
A source tells Fox 59 an arrest has not been made. We asked investigators question after question, trying to get more details on what this new development could be. But so far, they haven't said much.
Cautiously hopeful, you know, because like I said, I've gotten my hopes up before only to relive it again, and it's awful. I don't want to do that again.
Could tomorrow be the day, the big break in the case? All the community and this heartbroken mother can now do is just wait.
Certainly could be. Let's hope.
Indiana are promising significant new info just hours from now on a murder mystery that has haunted the town for 2 years. Somebody, or could be one person or more, because we don't know, killed Abbie Williams and Libby German as they were hiking. That was 2017. Do you remember that police found that Libby had taken a short video with her phone and you could hear a man's voice? Down the hill, it said. At noon Eastern today, police are going to detail what new direction their investigation is taking. We will bring it to you live right here on HLN. And Libby's grandparents told our Susan Hendricks they still hope someone has the key to solve the mystery.
Everybody's frustrated. And we have somebody that would come into our community and do this.
In your gut, do you feel like they're still here?
I don't know. I wish I knew. Obviously, I keep waiting for that phone call, you know, the one phone call that we're all waiting on. Let's give police what they need here. I mean, there's so many pieces to this puzzle, and they have a bunch of them. They have pieces that we don't even know about. Whatever, how small it is, might be the final tip, you know, that they need to put these pieces together.
There's
And good afternoon from Delphi, Indiana, where we received a new direction today in the murder investigation involving Abbie Williams and Libby German, the two girls who were killed here in February of 2017, and for two investigation and the search for the person who killed them has been ongoing. And for those 2 years, much different than this one that we have received today. And for most people, when you see this sketch, this looks much different than the original sketch. That has been circulating now for, I believe, since July of 2017. They say this man is believed to be in his mid-20s to mid-30s, somewhere in that area. The police superintendent said today that he could be anywhere from 18 to 40 years old. This man is either from Delphi, works in Delphi, or frequents Delphi. Even that he could have been in their midst today. That this is someone that someone knows here in this community. They don't necessarily believe that this is a person who was just coming through town and was here just once. But this is someone, again, that either lives in Delphi, works in Delphi, or comes and goes from Delphi, or has lived here and has a connection to this community. And I think that not only frightens the folks here in Delphi, but it also made them much more I'll say engaged in this new direction in this investigation, because again, this sketch that we want you to take a good hard look at and continue to look at in the days to come is what state police now believe is a much more accurate depiction of the person they believe murdered Abbie Williams and Libby German on February 13th, 2017. Police are also looking for the driver of a car that was abandoned. They didn't give a description of the car, but they believe this car was abandoned and left here in Delphi on February 14th, the day after the murders. And this was located at 300 North and State Road 25, or the Heartland, the Hoosier Heartland Highway. And so they're looking for whoever may have abandoned that car. Again, they didn't give a description of that car. Also released today was a little extended portion of audio. Down the hill, you've heard that many times. There's an extended portion of audio that is now from the phone that was recovered from Libby German. We also have a extended video clip of 4 or 5 seconds showing the suspect walking across the bridge, on the railroad bridge here in Delphi, in what is believed just moments before he murdered Libby. Out on our website, go to WTHR.com. We have that video for you. We have this sketch for you, so you can take a good hard look. But police are now hoping, Evan, let's walk over here. They're hoping that they will have more calls, more information, more tips come in from this information that was released today. Again, what makes it in front of us today? A suspect name, a date of birth or an approximate age, vehicle information, what kind of car do they drive, what kind of why do you think this reason for providing this tip to police? Why could they be the suspect? What would be their motivation for this crime? And then do they have a connection to Delphi? And if you have any information in that regard, you are asked to send that to this email address. It's Abbie and Libby Tip at CACOSHRF.com. That stands for Carroll County Libby Tip at SHRF.com or CarrollCountySheriff.com. So let me just recap for those of you who may be joining in late. Let's walk back over to the photo, because we certainly can't show that enough. This new sketch unveiled by state police here today, and what was a very passionate news conference by Superintendent Doug Carter, saying that we will find this man. He was called a coward, and they say that he made mistakes and that they are going to find him. This is now what they say is a more accurate depiction of the suspect that they believe killed Abbie Williams and Libby German. Again, this happened on February 13th, 2017. Their bodies were discovered on the 14th, and it's been now over 2 years for this community, which is very much burdened, very much heartbroken, very much not the same since this happened, and very much uncomfortable, even more so today, I think, with the statement from the superintendent that it's believed that whoever is responsible for this is likely someone from Delphi, or who works here, or who is in and out of this community on a regular basis, has some kind of connection to this community, used to live to mid-30s. Social media, the WTHR Facebook page and WTHR.com. Jenny Runovich is here today with me. She's gone to the location where that car was abandoned, and we'll have some video of that location that might hopefully jog someone's memory back to 2 years ago, where a car may have been left abandoned and who that car may have belonged to. Police are looking for the driver. I'm Rich Nye in Delphi, Indiana, and we'll have the very latest for you tonight on Eyewitness News. Thanks.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Jenny Runovich, along with my colleague Rich Nye. We are in Delphi, where at noon today, State Police will be holding a much anticipated news conference regarding the Abbie and Libby murders here in Delphi. Rich, it's been 2 years, and I know the community, the family, all of Central Indiana really, really want answers for this case.
We know that over the past 2 years there have been hundreds of calls and tips to state police, but at this point we're still without an arrest. And of course that has everyone in this community continually on edge.
Sure.
And certainly wanting to have some kind of breakthrough in this case. And we don't really know the nature of the information that we're going to be given today, but we expect to be given new, significant information here.
Yeah.
And I think that will give people some new hope, maybe some new energy, some new momentum into finding out who's responsible for these murders.
And that really is the goal, to end that heartbreak and find the killer who is still out there right now. What we've been told so far from state police is that this investigation is a new direction, is how they termed this press conference. And we do understand, sources have told us, we're going to learn some significant information, perhaps the second most significant information in this case since we got the photo of the man along the bridge and the audio recording from Libby's cell phone from that day 2 years ago. We should probably show everybody a little bit what it looks like in here. Yeah, this is where the news conference is going to be held. As you can imagine, a lot of attention on this. So you're looking at all of the cameras set up, and it's all the way from headline news to affiliates here in Indianapolis to South Bend to Fort Wayne and Lafayette. So a lot of media attention as well. And Rich, they have a big display here as well for us.
Right, we should mention again that this is open to the public, so if you want to come, you are welcome. It is at noon today. It's at the Canal Center, which is, I had never been here before, but it's kind of like a public park, if you will, and there's a sort of a historical museum, if you will, out in the yard of this area at the Canal Center. So come to the Canal Center. It's just outside of downtown
Not
Delphi.
much seating, but yes.
Yeah, but there's really plenty of standing room for anyone who wants to come today and be a part of this. But yes, you can see the display that is here at the front of the room, the pictures of Abbie and Libby. You will be hearing from the Superintendent of the State Police, Doug Carter, who will lead this news conference today at noon. There are a couple other poster board displays on the other side of the room.
And I did ask police about the poster board displays that you see down there. It's kind of hard to see from now, and we don't want to get in the middle of another reporter's live interview right now. But they do have a list of tips, how to recognize what a good tip is, what they're looking for, some contact information, the girls' pictures, a picture of the man who was seen on the bridge that day. And then if you look over there, you can kind of see over the state trooper's shoulder that red square, that display piece. I did ask police about that, and they said that will be revealed at the news conference. So we can surmise that that's part of the significant information that we're going to learn today.
I think that the big thing to, again, stress here is that this is an investigation that is obviously continuing because they're asking for tips. They're still out there asking for people. This is the kind of information that we need that would be a good tip that will help us in our investigation. So I think we can assume safely that here at noon today, we're not going to be getting any information about a specific suspect or an arrest or anything like that. This is going to be more information that will hopefully lead to then new leads from the public, and I think that's why this is such a public event.
I was going to say, I think that's why they're inviting the public, because this is a close-knit community, but it's also the community that can often help solve crimes like this. The smallest tip from someone who may think it's insignificant turns out to be that key in cracking the case, and so they really need your help if people do have information to share that with state police. You can hear they're doing some sound checks right now. This is kind of all that happens in making the sausage, as it were, prior to the news conference. So some of the media is still arriving. You can see, again, not too many seats, but there's plenty of room in the back for standing room only. If you are planning on coming down, the doors to the public, 11:30, I believe, is when they're opening the doors to the public here. We should also mention that this is going to be a brief news conference. Right. This briefing will be brief. We understand that Superintendent Doug Carter with State Police is going to be speaking, and we've been told he will not take any questions, and it will just be a statement, a revealing of some information, and that's it.
Yeah, so again, I think what we have here is that the state police have something that they want to give us, and by us I mean not just the media but the public. They want information that they want out there, something new that they hope will then lead to more information coming in from the public, new leads, new potential suspects, something that will help turn this case that for 2 years has remained unsolved. And as we drove through Delphi just about a half hour ago, Jenny, we see that this community has this on their mind every moment of every day, and the posters are up, and it's something that is a burden upon this community to know that the killer of these 2 young ladies is still out there, and we don't know who that is.
And this is why we'll leave you, I guess, with these photos. There is for them. So we will carry the news conference, of course, live on WTHR.com. You can also watch it on our noon show on the air on WTHR, and Rich and I will both be recapping it for you tonight at 5 and 6. So thanks for joining us for now, and we'll see you in about an hour or so.
And members of the Delphi community were also in attendance at today's press conference. News 18's Balin Salivari spoke with some of the public after that news conference. Balin, what were their reactions to it?
Hey, Jeff, they are optimistic the new details will further the case, but many are still left with a lot of questions.
I wonder, you know, how he approached the girls. What angle did he use?
Those in attendance, like Helen Rausch, are still searching for answers after Monday's press conference.
Wondering who did it. You know, it's a very tragic thing.
Police asked for the public's help Monday afternoon identifying a vehicle of interest in the case. But Larry Scowden believes the request comes too late into the investigation.
It's awful cold now after 2 years. I don't know if that's going to help much. Who's going to remember if they've seen a truck there 2 years ago?
Police also released a new sketch of the suspect, sparking conversation among Delphi residents.
The sketch was very different. The 2 photos were very different. The one looked like a younger person. The other one looked like a guy around 40 or so.
It's kind of different from what they were showing before. It doesn't look like the same person to me.
But Scowden believes the newly released information will bring in new leads.
People will be looking at different suspects, I'm sure.
Residents still remain hopeful that the case will be solved, and an entire timeline of the investigation can be found on our website at WLFI.com. Balin Salivari, News 18.
They are the smiling faces of 2 girls whose murder has haunted a small town for more than 2 years. But tonight, detectives sharing a new sketch of a suspect appearing to be much younger than the original drawing released. A man investigators believe could be living among them.
To the killer, who may be in this room, we believe you are hiding in plain sight.
For the first time since police found the bodies of Libby German and Abbie Williams, investigators shared a video Libby recorded on her cell phone the day the 2 disappeared, showing the suspect walking on a railroad bridge. Also released a new audio recording of a man saying what sounds like, "Guys, down the hill."
Guys, down the hill.
Police believe the killer may even be from the town of 2,800 people. Abbie's mom spoke to NBC News in January.
It's terrifying to walk around every day knowing that there's a person out there that could do something this horrific.
Investigators now seeking the owner of an abandoned car near the crime scene. Today made a personal plea to the killer.
What will those closest to you think of when they find out that you brutally murdered 2 little girls?
Tonight, a town hoping the new evidence answers their big question. Who met these 2 girls on a hike and made sure they never made it home?
We know that this is about power to you. And you want to know what we know. And one day, you will.
And tonight here in Delphi, this new evidence brings hope, but with it, a bit of uneasiness. An employee at a local pizza shop telling me every customer who walks in could be a...
And thank you for being here with us. I'm Amanda Starantino. New recordings and audio tonight taken from the phone of one of the Delphi girls whose lives were cut short. New evidence and how this could turn and change the investigation. RTV6 has live team coverage tonight with Call 6 Investigates Rafael Sanchez and Paris Lubell. Rafael, talk to us. What are we learning today?
Amanda, good evening. A series of new details released today that police are really hoping will lead to that arrest and maybe even a trial right there in the building behind me, the Carroll County Courthouse.
We also believe this person is from Delphi, currently or has previously lived here.
Carrie Timmons did not need to say a word for the world to be reminded of the deep loss being felt by the families of Libby German and Abbie Williams. Raw emotions as new details became public more than 2 years after the girls were killed. A new sketch of the prime suspect described as an 18 to 40-year-old man who may live, work, or visit in Delphi. For the first time, moving video of the suspect on the Monon High Bridge was released. This video that Libby German secretly recorded when the suspect approached her and Abbie on the bridge back on February the 13th, 2017. State police also shared a bit more of the audio from that video. In the past, we've heard the 3 words, "down the hill." Now listen closely to the new release.
Down the hill, guys. Down the hill, guys. Down the hill.
That previous audio recording composed of 3 words, "down the hill." The new recording adds an extra word, "guys down the hill." Police are hoping that all of this new information put together will give the public here in Carroll County and around the world more information that may lead to a possible arrest and, of course, the prime suspect to be behind bars. Call 6 Investigates. Paris LaBelle joins me here in Delphi. You've been talking to a lot of the folks here in the town of 3,000. They're beginning now to sort of see how this information will impact them. What are they telling you, and how do they plan to use the information?
Rafael, for 2.5 years, investigators have released very little information on this case, but that all changed today. And there were about 100 people that were there at the press conference from the community, and there was some shock and some frustration, but there's also some now new renewed hope. It came as a shock to everyone.
It's been 2.5 years. Why did they sit on this?
Frustration from the community after state police releasing significant new details on the investigation for the very first time.
You know, it's been a witch hunt around here. We all want justice.
Investigators releasing a clip of video, a clip of audio, but the biggest reaction, an audible gasp from the audience, came from the release of this new sketch.
We've all been looking for the wrong man for 2.5 years.
Police now saying this new sketch is the primary sketch of the suspect on the bridge.
To see the sketch we've been seeing and to see this now, it's like, you know, like it's completely different.
They just handed me this picture. I was surprised. The picture shows him to be much younger.
Investigators say they believe this man is between 18 and 40 years old and could appear younger than he actually is. Police also now saying they believe the man is from Delphi, is familiar with the area, or maybe works in the area.
As a Delphi citizen, I've always felt that way.
It could be someone around here.
I always thought he would be from Delphi.
Delphi has changed. You know, how we, instead of greeting your neighbor, you know, with a handshake and a smile at the grocery store, now you look at everybody with suspicion.
But with all the frustration, there's also new hope.
I think they will. I hope so. I know I'm from Kokomo, and we constantly keep our eye open.
I hope we get closure, yes. Soon.
Back live here in Delphi, state police were not taking any questions from the media today. So one of the many questions that people have on Facebook and throughout our social media pages on RTV6 is they want to know why today, why now all of this information?
Rafael, well, investigators have been keeping a lot of the information in this case close to the vest. Now, we've been talking to our sources. They say they've reached a point now in the investigation that they thought it was time to release this, and that is why they're doing it today.
The Call 6 Investigates. Paris LaBelle, thank you so much. Today, State Police Superintendent Doug Carter did have a message for the family. It was a raw emotion for him as he was not only talking about the killer at one point, but then he turned to his left and addressed the family of both Abbie and Libby. This is what he had to say.
I just want the family to know that when I take my last breath on this earth, I'll be thinking of them. There's going to be a tremendous amount of questions. I know that. I know that. Never in my career have I stood in front of something like this. Please be patient with us, please. We're just beginning. We are just now beginning. And I can tell you on behalf of the sheriff and the police chief, so many other partners that have stood with us over this period of time, that we will not stop.
A message today from State Police Superintendent Doug Carter to the family and all in that room. But we do have many questions for him and the families. They have asked us not to ask questions for another 2 weeks. So for the next 2 weeks, you will not hear any other commentary from law enforcement or from the families of Abbie and Libby. We're live tonight in Delphi. Rafael Sanchez, RTV6.
Rafael, thank you. And investigators say someone watching today likely knows the killer. If you know anything, please report it. There is a tip line set up, plus a tip email you can utilize to help find the killer of the Delphi daughters.
Back here at home now into a major new development in that murder mystery we have been reporting on here. 2 8th-grade girls killed while hiking 2 years ago. Did one of them record the killer before she died? Police just today releasing new video from one of the girls' phones, and a new sketch tonight and audio of a suspect. And the chilling moment today when the police superintendent said he believed the man is a local, and he told everyone standing there that he could even be in that room. ABC's Alex Perez from Indiana tonight.
Tonight, Indiana investigators releasing this new video that they believe shows the man who killed 13-year-old Abbie Williams and her friend, 14-year-old Libby German.
Watch the mannerisms as he walks. Do you recognize the mannerisms as being someone that you might know?
That video captured by Libby shortly before the murders, while the girls were hiking and Snapchatting by this bridge in Delphi, Indiana. Police today also unveiling a new, younger-looking sketch of the suspect between 18 and 40. Investigators believe he has ties to the area. An emotional State Police Superintendent today addressing the killer
directly to the killer who may be in this room. We believe you are hiding in plain sight. We know that this is about power to you, and you want to know what we know. And one day, you will.
Investigators also releasing more of that chilling recording from Libby's phone, believed to be the killer's voice.
Guys. Downhill. Guys. Downhill.
Tonight, this community on edge.
It's frustrating. It's scary because this person is still walking free.
This has been a 2-year ordeal for that community. Alex joins us live tonight from Indiana. And Alex, I know police are also looking for information about a car tonight.
That's right, David. Authorities did not give a description, but they say they're looking for a car that was parked near this trail when the girls were killed. Investigators firmly believe the suspect lived or still lives in this town.
Much. This new information released just yesterday is already leading to 1,000 new tips in the case.
Yeah, that is the word tonight. And Fox 59's Mike Sullivan actually went to Delphi, where people are not giving up hope that police will find this killer. Mike?
People say this new information is like starting all over again, with ribbons here downtown for Abbie and Libby sitting as a hopeful reminder that Delphi is back on the hunt, with tips coming in quickly. Information rolls in like an endless train car, as tips from Delphi go from a squeak to an outpouring with the release of new information in the Delphi murders.
Me personally, I'll keep my eye out.
Delphi lifer Jared Isley joins countless others less than 24 hours since state police released a new sketch, along with video and an audio recording. Investigators have received more than 1,000 tips by email or phone call.
Obviously, the whole community wants the person to be found, but I feel like if there's better evidence, video, picture, might help a little more.
So what to look for and what police do have? We asked Crime Stoppers expert Daniel Rosenberg.
First off, any tip is a good tip. There's a difference between a good tip and a great tip.
He says the best ones have a lot of specifics and don't ignore the obvious. You may think police already know information, but they may not.
As they come in, a lot of them that are the same tend to be good.
How about that audio recording? Rosenberg says to cue in on familiar phrase structures or pauses in between words.
Especially if you're listening to it on a television or something, you might even close your eyes. Sometimes that gives us a visual of who is talking.
Picture the sketch. Rosenberg identifies the eyes, nose, and jawline.
For a lot of people, when we look at people, especially when we look at them in the eye, that kind of makes a T. When cases become very hard is when you don't have anything to work.
A Kansas City family went 11 years wondering who killed their loved one, Jeff Rogers. The 25-year-old made a call to police as he died, describing his attackers. More than a decade later, an anonymous tip to Crime Stoppers led to an arrest.
It's about taking your time. It's about sifting through it and finding the little gems hidden in those big piles of paperwork.
Those stacks now amassing again in Delphi. In Delphi, I'm Mike Sullivan, Fox 59 News.
Now, police are looking for more people to call and email in those tips.
Yeah, no piece of information is too small or insignificant. You can send any of those tips by email or by phone. Make sure you leave specific information and your name and phone number in case investigators need clarification and they need to contact you. Again, here's a picture, there is the video, a picture of the video, any information. So these new developments not only brings back the grief, but the trauma of reliving what happened 2 years ago.
Every news report, every time Abbie and Libby's picture pops up on your timeline on Facebook, or every time the suspect's image is in a business window, these are considered trauma triggers, and everyone handles them differently.
The streets may be quiet in Delphi.
My heart jumped. It made me really nervous, yeah.
But inside, people are frustrated, anxious, and fearful.
Wherever you are, we're going to get you. We're going to find you.
Each piece of additional information
We believe you are hiding in plain sight.
can add an additional sense of trauma.
Back to the moment that the news was first initially announced.
Heather Servati-Saib is a professor of counseling psychology at Purdue University. She says grief is multidimensional.
It's emotional, cognitive, it's physical, it's social, it's spiritual. It's all of those aspects. It's also very, very unique to each person.
Although unique, for many, this new sketch, audio and video released, could be difficult to process.
Some may experience it in a way where they do have emotions and they do want to talk about it with others in their life. Some may experience it in a way where they want to do something very physical, where they want to do something to make a difference and to help someone else.
Servati-Saib says for those dealing with PTSD, the images could bring on nightmares or flashbacks.
Avoidance of areas that would remind people of the situation.
The key, acknowledging how to cope and recognizing justice for Abbie and Libby is what's important.
Really missing these two young girls and all they contributed to the community.
There are several ways to reach out for PTSD or grief counseling. There are national hotlines. We've placed that information over on our website. Reporting in Delphi, Melissa Crash, back to you.
Important information, Melissa. Thank you. So once again, here's where we stand this evening. In the past 2 years, police have received more than 40,000 tips. They've looked at more than 1,100 people, but still no arrests in this case. So again, we're putting the word out this evening. If you know anything
in the Delphi murders investigation, creating more questions in this small town.
They got positive the first guy, now they got a new guy.
State police believe this second sketch more accurately depicts Abbie and Libby's killer. They just revealed it on Monday, but we're learning an artist drew it 2 years ago.
It's kind of all confusing to me right now.
Our partners at the Indy Star confirmed the artist drew this sketch 3 days after the bodies of Abbie and Libby were found. In a statement today, state police said the first sketch released in 2017 was a person of interest, but now they say the new one more accurately represents the person wanted for murder. However, state police didn't answer our questions about why the department waited so long to release it.
If we have multiple witnesses describing different subjects, then it would be normal to have 2 different types of sketches.
Gil Zamora is a forensic sketch artist out of California, certified by the FBI. He has no ties to this case. In his experience, releasing a sketch 2 years after it's drawn is not common, but he sees how it can happen.
New information has come up that allows you to believe that maybe that information was more reliable than you thought.
ISP says this man represents the face of the person captured on Libby's cell phone. The agency also is not sharing specifics on why they're going with this sketch now.
It's just kind of crazy how it come up.
A community searching for answers on a man who may have never left Delphi. It's leaving some confused, but hopeful they're closer to an arrest.
These babies need to rest in peace.
In Delphi, I'm Kelly Rinke, Fox 59 News. Abbie and Libby were killed more than 800 days ago, and investigators just released a new sketch last week. Now the family is searching for a killer who may have never left their small Indiana town.
It feels like it's only been maybe a month.
Time goes by fast for Libby German's sister, whose memory of that day has never faded away.
I'm terrified for other people, but he's still out there.
There is somebody out there that did this horrendous crime.
Kelsey German was only a junior in high school when her younger sister and best friend Abbie Williams were brutally murdered while walking on the Delphi historic trails more than 2 years ago.
The first year, I was kind of in denial. I would still go up the driveway and look at her bedroom and see if her light was on.
Kelsey doesn't want to know the details of what happened to her sister. She doesn't want that to change her memories of Libby.
Yeah, they're all we have left.
At first, she didn't want to be involved in this case at all. That was until just before her freshman year at Ball State.
Hi.
When a chance encounter at a true crime convention connected her with Michelle Cruz, who knows better than anyone what Kelsey is going through.
She was the last known victim of the Golden State Killer.
Michelle's sister was raped and murdered in 1986, and she waited more than 30 years for someone to be caught.
We had worked on the case for so long, you know, just trying to get it out there on social media for years and years.
California
The suspected Golden State Killer was eventually arrested just 10 days before Kelsey and Michelle met at CrimeCon.
Realized, wow, Kelsey and I, we could just look at each other and we just knew how each other felt.
Yeah, they were dropped off Monday by a family member.
The Delphi case garnered national attention, but Michelle admits she didn't know much about it.
I don't really know too much about the case. There's probably a lot of other people that don't know too much about the case.
So she pushed Kelsey to become an advocate for Libby and start spreading the word about the Delphi killings anywhere she can.
I get notifications all the time.
Pumping out all of this information about the case on Twitter. In hopes of reaching someone who knows this man.
We believe you are hiding in plain sight.
Who may be living or working in Delphi.
I have so much more hope now that we will find him because of her. So many notifications.
Her Twitter page is also helping her grandparents get more media attention.
We're still struggling to live with the loss.
They've been on several true crime podcasts.
Libby was a people person.
I've come to meet people who get tips from people that live in different states.
Call us.
Indiana State Police has received roughly 40,000 tips so far, and First Sergeant Jerry Holman believes Kelsey's campaign is bringing some in.
We have to get them all. I mean, it doesn't matter age, gender, whoever might have heard something or knew something.
He recognizes that Kelsey's work is getting the word out to a lot of different audiences.
Who knows who's involved, who knows who's talking about it.
I just want the killer off the street so he can't do it again.
Do you feel like the case is getting more notice?
Michelle reminds Kelsey her day could come too, and the memories of her sister deepen Kelsey's desire for closure.
It gives you the answers that you need to know that it's over.
State police say this new sketch more accurately depicts the face of the man responsible for the double murder. One former investigator with the FBI and another with IMPD says police sketches are not an exact science, but it could still help solve this case. For more than 2 years, the murder mystery near the Monon High Bridge Trail has gone unsolved, much to the dismay of everyone in law enforcement.
In 22 years being an FBI agent, this was one of the worst things that I remember.
Doug Coons retired from the FBI last year, although he didn't work on the Delphi double murder and doesn't know exactly what information led state police to develop this new sketch of a suspect showing a man who appears to be significantly younger than a sketch released by state police 2 years ago.
I think they look like different people. What one person sees and remembers may be different than what another person sees, and it may be the same person that they're talking about. It may not be.
Well, sketches in any crime can be tricky because they're not like photographs.
Retired IMPD homicide captain Robert Snow also doesn't have any inside information about the deaths of Liberty German and Abigail Williams, but says police sketches can serve as a valuable tool to help generate tips.
I have never seen too many sketches that look exactly like the person, because again, it's not like a photograph, but it can give you some give you some suspects sometimes. Sketches are worthwhile, you just never want to take them at 100% value, say this person has to look exactly like the sketch, because they won't.
Regardless of why the sketches changed and why it took state police 2 years to release this short video of the man walking on the trail, Snow praised investigators for their hard work.
The nice thing is the state police certainly haven't given up. That is the good thing about this case. They are still working full force on this case, even after 2 years.
State police believe the suspect in the sketch is between the ages of 18 and 40, although he appears to be younger than his age. At the same time, they also believe he is from the Delphi area or has visited there on several occasions.
Guess where's Kelly Rinke joins us live now from Delphi, a community still reeling more than 2 years after the murders. Kelly.
Hi, good evening, Bob and Debbie. We just got some new information from state police. They're looking for a driver of a car that was left here along Country Road 300 North the day the girls went missing. I just want to show you how close this is to the hiking trails where the girls were found. If you walk maybe 5 minutes down this path, you can get to the entrance of those trails. And investigators believe that their killer is hiding in plain sight, and he could be right here in Delphi.
We know that this is about power to you.
Strong words from Indiana State Police today as they announced a major shift in the Delphi murders investigation. The announcement drawing a large crowd in Delphi, the first big update in the case since 2017.
We try so hard to understand how a person could do something like this to two children.
Superintendent Doug Carter detailed the entirely new face to the crime. They now believe this is a more accurate sketch of the man who murdered Abbie Williams and Libby German.
We also believe this person is from Delphi, currently or has previously lived here, visits Delphi on a regular basis, or works here.
They also show new video of their killer taken from Libby's phone. It's the video that was the source of the only known photo of the killer. Investigators think he's between the ages of 18 and 40.
We likely have interviewed you or someone close to you. We know that this is about power to you.
And now there's more sound from the man taken while the girls were on the High Bridge Trail. It's an extended clip of the audio police previously released. It was recorded roughly half a mile away from this parking lot on Country Road 300 North. State police say they're trying to find the driver of a car left here during the time the girls went hiking.
To the killer, who may be in this room. We believe you are hiding in plain sight.
Carter's remarks chilling to families in the room.
My heart jumped. It made me very nervous, yeah. Yeah, that freaked me out.
This community has been looking at another sketch for 21 months, and now these faded posters in downtown Delphi will be replaced with a new one.
Got my voice. I want to tell you, man, wherever you are, we're going to get you. We're going to find you.
A change in this case, instilling new hope in finding the man responsible.
We will not stop.
Now, the families of Abbie and Libby were at this press conference. They found out this new information before noon, and they are going to take some time before they make any comments about this investigation. Debbie, back to you.
Kelly, you were in that room during the news conference. Tell us, if you can, how people reacted when those announcements, those updates were made by the superintendent there.
Yeah, Debbie, especially when people were hearing that this man could possibly be in Delphi, live here, he may visit this city quite often. It was pretty uncomfortable for parents to hear, especially. You could hear almost an audible gasp when that new sketch was released because, like we mentioned, people have been looking at this sketch for nearly 2 years, and now that there's a new face out there, people are nervous, but they're hoping that this is one step closer to an arrest.
Yeah,
Guys, back to you.
Let's all hope. Kelly Rinke, thank you very much. Reporting live for us in Delphi. Thank you.
In a heartbreaking case we've been covering for more than 2 years, Indiana State Police have released new information in the 2017 murders of 2 Delphi girls, Libby German and Abbie Williams. News Center 16's Megan Smedley is breaking down all the latest details and how you can help police.
Police released a brand new sketch of the man they say murdered Libby German and Abbie Williams back in 2017. They hope this sketch will finally lead to some answers.
Only a coward would do such a thing. We are confident that you have told someone what you have done. Or at the very least, they know because of how different you are since the murders.
Police believe the suspect knows the Delphi community.
We also believe this person is from Delphi, currently or has previously lived here, visits Delphi on a regular basis, or works here.
They also released new video obtained from Libby's phone showing the suspect walking on the bridge, as well as a new audio clip. Police believe the suspect is between 18 and 40 years old, but looks younger than his age. Police say they have one witness, but are hoping this new information will lead to more people coming forward, or even the suspect himself.
To the murderer, I believe you have just a little bit of a conscience left.
Megan Smedley, News Center 16.
And this case now has a $225,000 reward.
Thousands of emails and hundreds of phone calls this morning. Police are still sifting through those new clues in the murders of 2 young girls in Delphi, Indiana. The multi-agency task force is now following up on more than 2,200 emails with tips about the deaths of 8th graders Abbie Williams and Libby German. They also received more than 500 calls. 400 were directly to the task force, while more than 100 went to local police departments all across the state of Indiana. Now, only 2 weeks ago, investigators released this new sketch of the possible suspect, along with a short video clip and a longer segment of audio captured on Libby's cell phone. The girls' bodies were found on Valentine's Day back in 2017, one day after they went out for a hike.
Fox News Alert, Indiana State Police are making a new push in the effort to find the killer of 2 teenage girls that were murdered 2 years ago. The bodies of Abbie Williams and Libby German were found a day after they disappeared while hiking near the town of Delphi. Mike Tobin is following this story. So, Mike, this was a bit of a big surprise. What's the new information?
Well, it starts with a new sketch of the man that Indiana State Police believe is the killer, Dana. The man in this sketch does not look like the image we had previously seen. The man looks quite a bit different. State Police Superintendent Doug Carter says the new image is the result of intelligence gathered over 2 years investigating this case. Police believe the killer could be in a broad age range, anywhere from 18 to 40 years old. Police also released never-before-seen video of the man they identify as the killer. Now, this was taken from one of the victim's phones. The superintendent said today they think the killer is either from Delphi, Indiana, or he's familiar with it, like someone who works there.
For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have. We likely have interviewed you or someone close to you. We know that this is about power to you. And you want to know what we know. And one day, you will.
On February 13th of 2017, Abigail Williams and Liberty German, 13 and 14 years old, were dropped off at the Delphi Historic Trails. Their bodies were discovered the next day about a half-mile off the trail. The cause of death for the girls has never been released, Dana.
Mike, did the police offer anything else to go on?
Well, you know, they re-released in longer form some audio that had previously been out there. It's tough to hear, and it's a quick clip, but on this audio, you will briefly hear a man say,
a new suspect sketch in the case of those 2 little girls killed in Indiana, and it looks nothing like the first one. Authorities today gave an update on the case, sharing a snippet of video from one of the victims' cell phones and extended audio, allegedly of the assailant ordering them down the hill. Plus, this new sketch, which looks completely different.
a major development in the slaying of two teenagers who secretly recorded video of their killer 2 years ago. Police today released a new sketch of the suspect. He looks much younger than the previous sketch.
We believe this person is currently between the age range of 18 and 40, but might appear younger than his true age.
Cops also released new video of the suspected killer approaching Abbie Williams and her best friend Libby German. For the first time, we see the man walking. Before, it was just a frozen screenshot. Police also released a longer version of the audio secretly recorded by Libby. Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter struggled to contain his emotions as he addressed the murderer directly.
To the murderer, I believe you have just a little bit of a conscience left.
He believes the killer most likely lives or lived in the girl's hometown, and he might even be in the room where the police briefing was held. It was open to the public.
Directly to the killer, who may be in this room. We believe you are hiding in plain sight. We likely have interviewed you, or someone close to you.
By actually mentioning you are not only among us, but you could be in this room, the inference of that is we are closing in on you. And I think it's a very specific technique to try to get the murderer to do something that will screw him up. Either make him panic, confess, tell somebody.
The girls were killed near a railway bridge in Delphi, Indiana during a hike in 2017.
We do know that the girls were found on this side of the creek, about a quarter of the mile in this direction. So when we're hearing down the hill on that recording, they could have been led in this direction, down this hill.
We will not stop.
Now, Indiana State Police are taking a new direction in the 2-year-old investigation into the murders of 2 young girls in Delphi, Indiana.
Today, they unveiled an updated sketch and new video taken from one of the girls' cell phones. WGN's Mike Lowe is here now with more on this case.
And good evening to both of you. Since these shocking killings happened more than 2 years ago, authorities have received tens of thousands of tips, none of them yet leading to an arrest. But today, they are taking a new strategy, taking the evidence to the public and sending a message directly to the killer.
To the murderer.
Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter spoke from the podium and from his heart, directly addressing the man who is believed to have killed 2 girls near Delphi, Indiana, back in 2017.
We believe you are hiding in plain sight. For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have.
The killer has evaded capture since the bodies of 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Liberty German were found in a wooded area near the Delphi Historic Trail, which is about 60 miles northwest of Indianapolis. The girls went missing while out on a hike.
We're seeking the public's help.
Carter announced 3 potential breakthroughs in the cold case, releasing new video of the suspect bundled in a blue coat, wearing a hat with his hands in his pockets, ambling over the planks on a rail bridge.
Watch the mannerisms as he walks. Do you recognize the mannerisms as being someone that you might know?
And police are making public an audio recording taken from Liberty German's cell phone, in which the suspect is heard directing the girls to, quote, walk down the hill.
Please keep in mind, the person talking is one person and is the person on the bridge with the girls.
Police also released an updated sketch of the suspect, saying they believe he's a man between the ages of 18 and 40, who may look younger than his age would suggest. And the superintendent left with one message for the victims' families.
I just want the family to know that when I take my last breath on this earth, I'll be thinking of them.
And authorities, private companies, and anonymous donors are offering a reward of $225,000 for information leading to an arrest in this case.
Just into the newsroom, more than 1,000 tips have been received by Indiana State Police since yesterday's announcement regarding the new face of the Delphi double homicides. That includes 800 by email, 150 phone tips, and more than 50 tips phoned directly to police agencies, part of the task force. Sergeant Kim Riley told News 18 that investigators have, quote, continuously went back and forth through the tips submitted from the beginning. Investigators released a video, additional audio, and a new sketch of the suspect yesterday. Again, state police are also asking for help locating a vehicle parked in the old DCS office lot between 12 p.m. and 5 p.m. on February 13, 2017, the day the girls died. The office is on County Road 300 North near the Hoosier Heartland Highway. Police say the suspect also appears to be from or have close links to Delphi. He's believed to be 18 to 40 years old. Anyone with information about the deaths of Abbie and Libby should continue sending tips in.
Who is the killer among us? That's the question haunting the good people of Delphi, Indiana today, after police say the killer of 2 teenagers is most likely a local man.
Delphi is about an hour and a half north of Indianapolis. It is a small town of less than 3,000 people. The town center is literally 1 block long. Imagine the chilling effect to hear that the killer may be walking among the folks here.
A chill went through the town when police said the killer may have been present at yesterday's news conference, which was open to the public. Scores of townspeople were present.
Didn't they take the names of everybody that was there?
They did, which is unusual, very unusual.
A man believed to be a police officer was seen taking video of those present. Curiously, the new sketch of the suspect that was unveiled by investigators yesterday was actually drawn by a police artist 2 years ago, just 3 days after Abbie Williams and her best friend Libby German were found murdered. State police declined to explain the 2-year gap.
Here's the headline in today's paper. Hiding in plain sight, and then that brand new composite right there. When you hear the police say that the killer could be hiding here in plain sight, does it frighten you?
Yes, it does now. Yes, it does.
John McKean owns the local supermarket.
It's unsettling to think that somebody like that is amongst us.
That's even more heartbreaking when you think about that,
absolutely.
and frightening.
Yeah, especially in a small town like this.
Cops are asking townspeople to study that newly released video of the suspect to see if his walk is familiar.
Remember, he is walking on the former railroad bridge. The suspect is not walking naturally due to the spacing between the ties.
Now the citizens of this small town in Indiana hope that the killer has enough humanity left in him to come forward and admit what he...
These new developments not only brings back the grief, but the trauma of reliving what happened 2 years ago.
Every news report, every time Abbie and Libby's picture pops up on your timeline on Facebook, or every time the suspect's image is in a business window, these are considered trauma triggers, and everyone handles them differently.
The streets may be quiet in Delphi.
My heart jumped. It made me really nervous, yeah.
But inside, people are frustrated, anxious, and fearful.
Wherever you are, we're going to get you. We're going to find you.
Each piece of additional information
We believe you are hiding in plain sight.
can add an additional sense of trauma.
Back to the moment that the news was first initially announced.
Heather Servati Saib is a professor of counseling psychology at Purdue University. She says grief is multidimensional.
It's emotional, cognitive, it's physical, it's social, it's spiritual. It's all of those aspects. It's also very, very unique to each person.
Although unique, for many, this new sketch, audio and video released, could be difficult to process.
Some may experience it in a way where they do have emotions and they do want to talk about it with others in their life. Some may experience it in a way where they want to do something very physical, where they want to do something to make a difference and to help someone else.
Servati Saib says for those dealing with PTSD, the images could bring on nightmares or flashbacks.
Avoidance of areas that would remind people of the situation.
The key, acknowledging how to cope and recognizing justice for Abbie and Libby is what's important.
Really missing the
hotlines. We've placed that information over on our website. Reporting in Delphi, Melissa Crash, back to you.
Important information, Melissa.
Right now, we're going to get to new developments in that Indiana murder mystery. Police have released new images and audio of the man accused of killing 2 young girls on a hike. ABC's Alex Perez is in Delphi, Indiana with the latest. Good morning, Alex.
Hey, good morning, George. Authorities believe they will find whoever took the girls from this trail. They believe their suspect lived or maybe even still lives in town.
To the killer, who may be in this room, we believe you are hiding in plain sight.
This morning, a determined police department and a small Indiana community on edge for 2 years with a killer on the loose.
We know that this is about power to you. And you want to know what we know. And one day, you will.
Authorities investigating the murders of 13-year-old Abbie Williams and 14-year-old Libby German sharing new evidence. The teenagers were murdered back in February of 2017. Last seen on this hiking trail Snapchatting near this bridge in Delphi. Libby, police believe, captured this cell phone image of the suspect on that same bridge because she feared they were in danger. Authorities for the first time saying they believe the killer is likely a local.
Watch the mannerisms as he walks. Do you recognize the mannerisms as being someone that you might know?
The man's voice also captured on audio, and in a newly released clip, we can hear more of the suspect's chilling voice, talking to the girls shortly before they were killed. Initially, investigators released this sketch of the suspect, but now releasing this younger-looking image, saying the man is between 18 and 40 years old.
For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have. We likely have interviewed you or someone close to you.
The hunt for the killers now intensifying.
Well, when he said that he could very well be in this room, that he could be under our noses and the people here that live in Delphi. I mean, that's frightening.
Authorities are stressing they believe the suspect appears to be much younger than he actually is. They're hoping this newly released evidence will be what they need to crack this case. George?
Okay, Alex, thanks very much. Let's bring in Callahan Walsh from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Callahan, thanks for coming in this morning. It's pretty dramatic to see the investigators talking directly to the person they think did this. What do you make of the shift in strategy?
Well, I think they have some new information. I think they have a new eyewitness who's come forward. You see the new sketch that they're using, so they obviously have some more information there. They're also asking about a vehicle, not specifically a car, but a vehicle that was parked near that trailhead, which I think they believe is the vehicle of the suspect. So with new information, they're shifting gears and they're putting this out to the public, making sure that they're keeping this case alive, and I think that's so important.
It is so important, and the sketch is such a drastic difference from the one that we saw originally. So as you're saying, you feel that there's somebody new that possibly came forward.
Right. The sketch isn't created from the video. A sketch like that is mostly done when someone is describing what a person looks like. It's not a computer-generated image from that video or anything like that. And so it could be somebody that they interviewed in the past, or it could be somebody new who came forward. And I think that's why they're looking inwards at the community, hoping that others come forward as well with any information. You know, people sometimes think their tip may be insignificant, and so they don't say anything. But it can oftentimes be the key that unlocks the door to justice.
We're calling this video clip and this audio clip new, but actually investigators have had it from the start, so why release it now?
Well, I think they're hoping that people can look at the gait, right, how this guy walked, and try to determine maybe that looks like a relative that they have or somebody that they know. So again, leaking a little bit more, I wouldn't say leaking, but releasing a little bit more information really keeps the community invested in this crime. And if anybody out there who did know anything and maybe it's weighing on their conscience, they're seeing it out there again, and they're getting a reminder that, hey, you need to do the right thing. You need to call law enforcement and give them that tip.
That press conference was really something to watch. The police looking right into the camera, speaking directly to the killer, calling him a coward, saying they think he could be in the community. What's the strategy behind that?
Well, oftentimes when individuals commit crimes, they will stay close to the investigation. We see people burn down houses and watch the firefighters put the fire out. It's same with crimes like this, and so he's likely very close to the investigation. Also, trying to take the temperature of the investigators to determine what they know and how close and how hot on his trail that they are. So it's not unlikely that he could have been a volunteer who helped in the search, a firefighter, a paramedic, somebody that's involved in this investigation. It's a tight-knit community. It's not a very big area, so I think that they're really hoping that if he's there at the press conference or if he was involved in the investigation.
You really think that's possible?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
Didn't they take the names of everybody that was there?
They did, which is unusual, very
right.
unusual. Wow. And I think that's a sign that they think that this guy is right there in the woodwork.
Wow.
Thanks again for coming in this morning.
First at 5, more than 950 tips in the span of about 24 hours. This after Indiana State Police released a new sketch, video, and audio of the prime suspect in the investigation into who killed Abbie Williams and Libby German in Delphi in the year 2017. And we've been asking so many questions, and you have been asking us as well. One of the questions you've been asking is, why is this new sketch so vastly different than the other? A sketch released nearly 2 years ago.
Well, working for you, Call 6 Investigates Paris Lubell has been tracking down answers to those questions you've been asking, and he joins us with what he's finding out.
Happens every day. We simply walk by somebody. And it's exactly what happened in Delphi. Our Call 6 team learning that those sketches were created from people who spotted the suspect on that day.
Well, obviously this new sketch, we've all been looking for the wrong man for 2.5 years.
But with that, why are the two sketches so different?
Most of us think we see things, but in fact, we don't see what we really saw.
Jim White is a retired state police district commander and is now part of IUPUI's School of Public and Environmental Affairs.
When we go to the artist and try to get the artist to create a rendition of what we think we saw, many times it's not what we really did see.
Remember back to that person that walked by the camera at the beginning of the story? That was our TV6's real-time manager, Bob Blake. But can you remember what he was wearing? Was it a light gray shirt, a white shirt, or a black shirt? Can you remember his face? Was he wearing glasses? Think about it for another moment. It's hard to do.
There's a big problem with composite drawing.
Former FBI agent and ABC News contributor Brad Garrett says often the composite sketches don't even look like the suspect.
If you and I walk by each other and I don't know you, and then somebody says, let's do a drawing of the person you just walked by, it would be sort of pieces of information left in my memory about who you are. And so as a result, then the composite obviously could well not be accurate.
Back to the person that walked by earlier in the story. It's probably even harder now to recall the shirt color and if he was wearing glasses, let alone what his face looked like. If you remembered a black shirt and glasses, you were right. But what about after a few days? That's some of the things investigators have struggled with and points to some of the reasons why the sketches could be so different. Investigators say this new sketch is the primary sketch, and if you have any information about this person, call the tip line. They also say make sure you don't take this sketch and put it next to somebody else's picture on social media. That's just detrimental to the investigation. Reporting tonight, Paris Lubell, RTV6.
Paris, thank you for all of that information. All of this is about getting justice for the Delphi daughters, Abbie and Libby. And the reward for the information that leads to an arrest in the case now stands at more than $200,000.
To come in tonight in the Delphi murder case, investigators still trying to figure out who killed Libby German and Abbie Williams 2 years ago, and tonight police are providing more clarification about that latest sketch from the suspect.
Yeah, tonight at 11 o'clock, our own Emily Longnecker explains what police want the public to really know about this case. Emily?
Well, Andrea and Scott, the sketch released on Monday is the person investigators are looking for. He's the man police believe killed the two girls. Now let's take a look at that sketch. Again, it's right here. Police say this is the face of the man captured on Libby German's cell phone video walking on the bridge. This other sketch released 2 years ago when the investigation first started is not who police are looking for now. This person is not considered a person of interest in the case, and police say the two sketches are not of the same man. Investigators say the guy in this newer sketch may have a youthful appearance, but could be in his 20s to late 30s. They caution, though, he could look different now if he's grown a mustache, beard, or changed his hair in any way. But this is the sketch police want you to focus on now. And police are asking folks in the Delphi area to think back on people they know in the community that look similar to this sketch right here. If you remember anything that could help investigators, you can email them your tip. We posted all of this information for you on our website, WTHR.com.
And Libby German, our Susan Hendricks reports that the people in Delphi have renewed hope that it'll finally be solved.
In the town of Delphi, again, the population is under 3,000 people. And for 2 years, who killed Abbie and Libby? The question still remains. But this is what the people of Delphi had to base this on. This sketch, the reward money, over $200,000, depends on the tip there. And kind of this grainy picture of the suspect on the bridge here walking. It appears that he has a hat on. Right now we don't know. It appears he has his hands in his pocket, a heavy jacket, maybe a thick build. And again, that's a sketch that they had to go on. The cover of the local newspaper, hiding in plain sight. This is very different than this sketch. I mean, look at the difference here. It is completely different than what the public thought. Looks much younger. Again, 18 to 40 is the age range they're saying now. So I talked to some business owners around here and some locals, and they say they're excited or thinking that this will lead to an arrest, and that's what they're hoping. But wow, what a new development 2 years in, and it's completely changed in terms of what they're looking for, and they do need your help. And they say to call the tip line, and here it is, 844-459-5786. And again, hopefully this new sketch will give us some answers, but the family still in shock over what they heard.
A new sketch of the accused Delphi killer has generated nearly 2,000 tips. It's given the sister of Libby German renewed hope that there will be justice in this case. On Twitter, Kelsey German has been asking people to retweet that sketch and call in or email tips. She's also posted some personal pictures. This one, as you can see here, with her and her sister with the message, "Miss you." Tonight, Kelsey German and her ongoing efforts to find a suspect. Kelsey German takes time to tweet as much as possible.
I think it's crazy that it's been almost 2 years now. I never thought that we'd actually end up being this long without answers.
With so many questions, she's on the phone, counting on more than 4,300 people. That's the number of followers on her Twitter account, focused only on finding the suspect who killed her sister Libby and their friend Abbie in 2017.
I've met so many people who are, they've connected with the girls because of my posts. So they, before I didn't maybe see them as like a very important case to look at.
The account, @LibertyG_sister, was created after Kelsey met Michelle Cruz. Cruz's sister was one of the victims of the Golden State Killer in California. He was arrested and convicted last year after 4 decades of killing and assaulting people. Before he was caught, Cruz was outspoken on social media, and she encouraged Kelsey to do the same with the Delphi case.
She did say that it might take a lot of sharing, but it's not going to take 42 years for us to solve your case. We're going to get it solved a lot sooner. So that was very impactful for me.
We FaceTimed with Michelle.
My advice about waiting for justice is don't wait. Get up, start advocating for your murdered sister, friend, relative, loved one. You know, if you don't take the lead, who's going to take the lead, right? So the investigators are doing their part, but I feel it was up to me, and it's up to Kelsey and the others to, you know, help spread awareness.
She's been such a big support system for me. It's actually really great.
Kelsey is a strong young lady. She plans to change her college major from communications to biological forensics. She wants to help solve crimes in the future. It is her way of giving back.
Delphi, Indiana, a typical rural Midwestern city with a true main street with quiet neighborhoods surrounded by sprawling farms. Just 90 minutes northwest of Indianapolis, Delphi sits along the historic Wabash and Erie canals. Transportation put Delphi on the map, although today the area is largely farmland. Residents have long considered Delphi a safe place to raise their families. But that changed forever in February of 2017, when Kelsey German dropped off her little sister Libby and her best friend Abbie Williams at the historic Monon High Bridge, where people like to hike and take pictures. Police say the girls quickly encountered their killer here on this abandoned railroad. It is in bad shape with wide gaps open to the creek more than 75 feet below. Police say this is the man who followed them on that bridge. The grainy, unclear image appears to show the man wearing baggy, light-washed jeans. He could be wearing a hat. He could have facial hair. Libby took this video with her cell phone. During the recording, the man gave them an order. Police won't say what happened next, but on February 14, 2017, the bodies of Abbie and Libby were found along the creek, a half-mile from the bridge. Cops say it was a brutal murder.
We are following breaking news tonight out of Indiana. Someone has murdered 2 girls.
The search is on for a killer in the small city of Delphi.
Oh, everybody's upset. They just can't believe somebody would do that to those little girls.
Delphi, it's always quiet, but today feels different. You can feel the pain.
Where a manhunt is still underway for the killer or killers of these 2 young girls. Within months, police released this sketch saying the description came from 2 witnesses. They thought he was a man in his 40s or 50s who may have been passing through, maybe a truck driver. Someone who could kill 2 girls and not feel any remorse. Well, police now say that man is not involved and they are looking for someone new.
I believe you have just a little bit of a conscience left. 2 children. Only a coward would do such a thing.
2 years into this massive investigation, the multi-agency task force shocked the city by releasing this sketch of the new suspect.
It made me really nervous, yeah.
This is a depiction of the man who police now believe followed the girls on the high bridge and murdered them. They say he's younger than they first thought and is probably from Delphi and could still be living among the families of his victims. They say he's the kind of guy living a double life. The kind of person who would show up to the news conference to hear what investigators had to say.
Directly to the killer, who may be in this room. We believe you are hiding in plain sight. For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have. We know that this is about power to you. And you want to know what we know. And one day, you will. A question to you. What will those closest to you think of when they find out that you brutally murdered 2 little girls? We are confident that you have told someone what you have done.
Investigators also released the first new evidence from Libby's cell phone in 2 years. Additional audio from the video that Libby captured. She was able to capture that, what we see, and then the sound. Do you think she did that on purpose?
Absolutely. I think she saw this person coming towards them and just sensed that something wasn't right. Probably was going to record it and come home and show us and say, look, there was a weird guy out, you know.
Residents tell me the new direction in the investigation shocked them. Most hadn't considered the suspect could be living among them, next door even. They say the state police superintendent was trying to force a response.
I think he was trying to rattle or kind of shake someone out of the woods if he was like hiding in the background, you know, so make him think that maybe, yeah, we do know who you are and it is just a matter of time.
Wherever you are, we're going to get you. We're going to find you.
that new announcement has done little to answer the big questions in this case. Number one, who did this and why?
Yeah, that is the question in Delphi and everywhere else. Why wait 2+ years to release the additional audio? As we heard, it said guys down the hill, sound from Libby's cell phone, and the video of that person walking on the bridge, who police believe is the man that killed those girls. And I was there, Mike, as you know, in Delphi on that bridge. It's about 75 feet up. I mean, it is frightening. And the man on that bridge looks like, he's just walking on the sidewalk. Want to bring in our guests now. Casey, let's talk to you first. I was there at the presser. A lot of anxiety in the room. And the authorities took aside the family members first, about an hour prior to the announcement, telling them the details they know. I saw a couple family members coming out, crying, the grandmother of Libby saying, I'm anxious. And I felt that way too. You felt sort of anxious. And then they unveiled the new sketch.
Right.
It was hidden by a red board, armed police officer guarding that, and this is what was released. And there was a gasp in the room because this looks completely different from the other sketch.
And that was all intentional. The tension building, the orchestrated nature of it, the delivery of it, the unveiling of the new photograph, basically the announcement that everything we've been looking at for the last 2 years is moot. Pay attention because this is the guy we're looking for. And that one line, he could be in the room, was meant to send shivers down your spine. And I guarantee you that law enforcement was there scanning the room, looking to see if anyone not only looks like this, but got up and left or looked really nervous, or, it was meant to provoke the killer. Now, do they really expect him to be in the room? No, they had to consider that was a possibility. But really what they're trying to do is reignite interest in this case with this new sketch, because this represents who they're looking for now. They have a new vision. And one of two things, they either know a lot about this person, they have a particular person in mind, and the sketch really looks like him, or they have a new witness and they are really needing more tips to bring it all together so that they can actually match DNA and the evidence they do have on hand with an actual person.
He looks so young to me, Joey, don't you agree?
Yeah, Susan, I was very impressed with that press conference. I was impressed with the whole superintendent, the manner in which he conducted it, and the emotion that he had, too. Excellent job covering it, by the way. I couldn't imagine how you felt being in there, the tension as you raised. But I think it's important when law enforcement is on a case that they don't work in a vacuum. Law enforcement often depends upon communities. What do you know as a community? And it is heartening also that after a couple of years, we know that they're not slowing down. And they're sending the message, you know what? We're on to you. We got you. We think you're a person who's in this community. We're going to release information to everyone and every man, woman, and child. If you know a person that looks like this, you know someone who looks similar like this, you know someone who walks like that, right? Releasing the audios, the videos, getting all the information together, getting community involvement, and perhaps bringing this person in.
And you don't think they're bluffing?
You know what? Here's what I think, Casey. I think that they're working the case very diligently, but I do think that, you know the saying, see something, say something. And I think that they're really depending and leaning upon a community which is close-knit, tightly knit, a closely knit community, to come forward with anything and everything you know to help us crack this.
And there was a lot of time to give us some time to get there. Maureen, I saw ABC, NBC, Inside Edition. Everybody was there by design, you said?
Absolutely by design, and I thought it was a brilliant strategy. And you're right, they're not giving up at all. They're ramping up, and you can tell that every one of those law enforcement officers was just desperately invested. I think the reason that they took so long to release the video, in part, is due to the fact that when you look at the way this man walks on the bridge, that's not a natural gait, it's not a normal gait. And if you look at the topography as you talked about, those are railroad ties, partially eroded, so you're gonna hop step,
Yeah,
hop
you
step.
fall, it's over for you.
And not only is it over for you, but it's a horrible depiction of how a person actually walks.
Right.
I think the value in the way, in releasing that extra video that showed the way he walks, is to show that in the initial photograph, he looked very heavy set. But in that video, that short video, you can see that his legs are thinner, and you can see that his jacket is bowed.
So you think he's hiding something under the jacket?
I think he's got all of the things he needs to commit the crime stuffed under that jacket.
Well, I was there 2 months ago, and they said, the lead detective in this, that they had DNA evidence.
What is most important to you of what's new? The increased audio that we hear, the seeing of the gate, an abandoned car, the new sketch. What are you really picking up on?
I got to tell you, Mike, one of the things that kind of haunted me, I think, was probably the audio.
coming around to that, because now we have a larger sample than we previously had. Remember, it was just down the hill, but then you've got guys, and I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but it implies kind of a connectivity here. He's identifying these little girls, giving them a specific directive, and if you can listen to him say it, it's very bold when he says it. Guys, he gets their attention down the hill. I was talking to Maureen just a moment ago, and I think that one of the things that's really compelling here is I wonder if the FBI has come forward and assigned a linguist, not to get a specific identity, but to regionalize that accent, because now they've got a larger sample here, and I think that's going to go a long way to getting this solved.
I don't know about you guys, but I say that all the time, even to my kids, like, guys, come here. It's familiar to me.
And I think it also, and it suggests a younger suspect. I really do think. I think it's far more likely that somebody in their 20s would say, guys, come, or maybe he knows them. You never know. Might know
You've
them.
seen it. You know, this is a population less than 3,000. You've got to think they're closer to.
For more than 2 years, you never thought we would shift gears to a different investigative strategy, but we have. We likely have interviewed you or someone close to you. We know that this is about power to you, and you want to know what we know. And one day, you will.
Superintendent Doug Carter there, also in the background, but he didn't say anything. That was Sheriff Tobe Lesenby. Want to bring back our panel. Maureen, do you think that was for optics, to have the local sheriff in the background, then the superintendent doing all the talking?
Yes, I think a lot of it was part of a plan to, first of all, lure the person in, the offender. I think that giving everyone 4 days for a press conference gave this offender enough time to at least get there if he was able to. And so they wanted him to be there. They had everyone sign in, and I was really, really hoping that this thing would just get finished that very day. So yeah, I think it was, a lot of it seemed to me like stuff I've heard in profiles from the Behavioral Analysis Unit at the FBI.
Calling him a coward.
Yeah, it's exactly. You asked earlier about his voice and if the FBI had looked into that. I'm confident that that would have been part of the profile, and that's part of the stuff that they talked about. And they said that, you know, for so long everyone was saying that the initial person was Mr. Boogeyman from far, far away. And then when they really looked at it, they looked at what happened, where it was, the location, the sound of his voice. These people put everything together. And when you talk about a room full of 10-pound brains, it's exhilarating.
I want to mention one more thing that stood out to me during this presser that I hadn't heard before, is the superintendent said these girls were brutally murdered. What kind of a coward would do that, Joey?
You know, on that point, Susan, it raises to mind something very significant. And this is your bailiwick, JSM, Joseph Scott Morgan. And maybe, Maureen, you could address it, but that's the DNA and the forensic aspect of the case. If you look at a killing and you look at the brutality of it, right, and Maureen and I were speaking about, is there any blood that he might have left in terms of being cut? What other DNA was gleaned from, I hate to say, the bodies of this 14 and 13-year-old when they were seen? Right. And I'm surprised I haven't heard more about the DNA, and perhaps it is because he's not in the database, or whoever did this isn't in the database, but so much can be learned from that.
Yeah, right? I think that you're right, Joey, and one of the things that's curious about this is that they have held everything back in this particular investigation. However, one of the things they have said from Jump Street, Susan, is this idea that we have DNA. They've said that several times. And so for me, that's a big point of order. Now, what is the origin of that DNA? Is it blood or is it semen? Okay, because I got to tell you, I got to be honest with you, I'm thinking that there are some really nasty issues that are involved here, not to mention the fact that he had mentioned that this is a particularly violent crime. This sounds very personal. Yep. This sounds like that they are just, this guy is engaged. I don't know if he was perhaps stalking one of these girls, perhaps, and just attacked.
Just for our viewers, I'm sure our viewers are thinking, why don't they release more information? And I'll let anybody handle it. Go ahead, Maureen.
There's a wall of
because the people going, come on, if you know, why don't you tell us?
Okay,
Won't that help?
We got 1,600 tips since the presser, right? they know exactly what kind of car was abandoned at that other side. If they said, we need a white Toyota, they will get 600,000 tips from as far away as you can possibly imagine. And every single one of those tips has to be run to ground and just chews up all your manpower.
Right.
They're much more comfortable with when you come into me and say, I saw a white Toyota. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tell me more. And I saw this, and I blah, blah, blah. I saw a guy with a machete. Or I saw a guy with a gun, depending on whatever it was. So you have to have a way to suss out people that are coming in with false confessions, because like it or not, so many people in this country are lonely and they want to be a part of something big, and this is huge.
The holdbacks let you check the veracity and the credibility of the information that you're getting. So they do know way more than we know. But it's interesting to me, Susan, that they'll say that they have the DNA, but they're not putting it out there. And to me, to answer Mike's question, that's the sword of Damocles hanging over the killer's head.
There is a wall of secrecy, though, that I felt when I was there.
But I think they should amp up the information on the DNA, that we have it. They don't have to say where they got it. But the bottom line is that if they think that, oh my gosh, if I spit on the sidewalk, somebody could swab that. If I throw out my plastic fork at McDonald's, somebody could grab that. They're looking for changes in behavior that are definite reactions to this press conference.
Well, along those lines, that's exactly right. And that's what they're looking for. And when they have everyone in this town, like you said, looking
Watching
left,
for
right,
it.
and center,
Yep.
they're watching someone drink something and put it down, and then, and that's going
Put
to
it
be
in
the
their
tip
pocket.
they're
Yep.
looking for.
But why are you poking at the killer? Why are you're a coward? This is about power to you.
It was
You
like
want
he
to know
was
what we know.
scolding him. He even looked directly in the camera and said, the way you left these girls is not the way they are feeling right now. That's when I was taken aback, saying, how were they left? What did that crime scene look like, Joey?
Yeah, I think you need to poke at the killer to get them out, maybe to get them out of their comfort zone, get them out of their daily routine, have them slip up, have them do something interesting. But it's interesting, Casey, because what you mentioned in terms of the spitting on the sidewalk, that's real. And what's real about that is that if the police have forensic evidence that is DNA evidence, and they don't have you have a database generally you go to. And if the person's DNA profile is in that database, it's a match, boom, you're close to getting where you need to be. In the event it's not, and you isolate it down to a few people, a number of people now.
You got a built-in defense, don't you, Joey?
Yes, but the issue though really is if somebody drinks a soda, throws it away, police pick it up.
Yeah.
Somebody has a straw, someone does something else, and that DNA could be used to see whether it's a match, because they may have some indication that it's police as to who the person can be, just generally.
And a lot of dumpster diving. Yeah, we
Right,
do a lot of
but it has to be in the public domain, or they're going to get Joey Jackson as their defense attorney, so to speak. No, but it's really key, because you don't want to lose a case because you violate the person's rights in the process of getting their DNA.
In recent memory, though, there have been several cases that come to mind for me that have been solved based on a napkin, a contaminated napkin, a contaminated coffee cup, cigarette butt, those sorts of things. So it does, all these things that we do in normal everyday life, it makes this person, they're sitting on a pincushion right now because it's a driver behind.
And briefly on the issue in terms of Casey saying, hey, look, you have a built-in defense, and here's what that is. When you, for example, drink a soda, you throw it out, you have a straw, you throw it out, something like that, it's abandoned. And as a result of that, police take it, they pick it up, they analyze it, it's all good, it could be used against you. In the event that that's not the case and you overreach and there's no warrant to be issued, now you have a problem. And what you don't want to do is go wrong in a case like this where you're putting your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and you're so close, you make that misstep, and defense attorney sees upon that to throw out the evidence.
There's a lot of armchair detectives here. Even my mom is so invested in this, texting me, why don't we just grab one of their drinks and do what you were talking about, because they're so invested in these two little girls, innocent girls, going to the bridge to have a day off, a make-up snow day, and being brutally murdered. Just innocence taken away from the town.
Absolutely.
I recently watched a movie called The Shack. And there's also a book that talks so well about evil, about death, and about eternity.
Again, that was Superintendent Doug Carter, Indiana State Police, mentioning the faith-based movie The Shack, which deals with faith, grief, heaven.
Makes you
right?
wonder if he's speaking directly to the person who he believes this sketch is of, to say, look, if you have any sort of conscience, Casey, come forward and tell us. This is religion-based, this movie.
It is. And even though it's about forgiveness and faith, he doesn't say those words. He says evil, death, and eternity. And he mentions the movie, but then he says, and there's a book. Now that's interesting. I don't think the book he's talking about is the shack. I think he's talking about the book, the Bible. And he is really trying to appeal. I think this is a church-going person in the community who believes on the surface, has faith, but struggles deeply with his identity, maybe his sexual proclivities, his sexual preferences that are out of sync with his religion.
Doug Carter
and would
even
be
said yes.
condemned, would be condemned
And I also
by
think
his
this is
religion.
mentioned to jab at him again,
Yep.
because the quote was, how you left them in the woods
Yep.
is not what they're experiencing
They're
today.
in
In other words,
heaven.
they're happier than all of us.
Yes.
We undid everything,
Yep.
And that was my thought as well, Mike, that this perpetrator attempted to destroy these girls, leave them in this condition. I think it was brutal, but now they're at peace.
They're at peace, but you won't be.
From corrupted to uncorrupted.
Okay, real quick, again, what a great panel. Thank you guys so much.
be
So,
here.
with all this said, and I will go down the line, are we any closer to an arrest or not?
Yes, absolutely. I think that we are so much closer right now. I have full confidence that they're going to solve this.
I'm going to say yes, but if it doesn't happen in the next few weeks, I'm going to worry that this is a Hail Mary pass and they have nothing.
Joe?
I'm all in. I think the superintendent showed he was vulnerable, showed that he was depending upon the community, showed himself as a father, a person who cares, revealed evidence, asking for public help. I think they have forensic evidence as well. I think they're very close to this case, and I think the public will help them crack it.
Maureen?
I think they're going to get him, and I think the best part of this whole case right now is that he's suffering, he's freaking out, he's looking over his shoulder, and he's doing exactly what you talked about earlier. He's going down, and it's going to be soon.
Ooh, we can all hope. You've been to the community. Coming off this, you were there. Was there a renewed hope that, yes, there's going to be justice served and our community is going to be safer?
Yeah, there was. There was an excitement in the air because of the new sketch, in a way that, okay, it's been 2 years. Maybe this will lead to an arrest finally. And Kelsey, Libby's sister, dropped him off at the bridge that day. She said, my sister was always begging me, please take us to the bridge, please. She said yes that day. She feels tremendous guilt, and she took me on that car ride. Look here, this is Kelsey.
Libby would always ask me to take her to places like, can we go to McDonald's, or can we go to Lafayette and go to see a movie? And it seemed like I was always saying no because I didn't want to go all the way to Lafayette, or I didn't have money to pay for it. So, yeah, this time I decided I'd said no enough that, like, I could handle taking her this time.
Do you regret that?
Yeah, sometimes I wish I would have been a mean sister and just said no. But
you know it's not your fault.
I'm getting there. I'm learning that, I guess.
Gosh, your heart just goes out to her. I mean, you sat in a car with her, you spent time, you shared a meal. I mean, it gets us back to the grief of a family. I mean, we're hoping to help solve a case and ask the deep questions, but the deep hurt lies with her.
Is 2 little girls missing, and I spoke to Libby's grandmother, Becky, and every day she posts on Facebook saying, this is the day. And she looked at me and said, one of these days, I'm going to be right.
And talks about it, right? Daily. I mean, I know you mentioned it, and I think the emotions well up with you as you see the daily posts, just a relentless quest for justice for these
I was in
little
that
girls.
house. You feel the spirit of Abbie and Libby. You really do. And at the presser, it's about who did this, meaning this sketch. But at the heart of this is a town left devastated, the community of Delphi, missing these adorable little girls. That's Libby. Her favorite holiday was Easter, and they didn't color eggs this year because the grandmother said, look, there's just a hole in the family, Joe.
Time is up for this killer. If he's watching now, I think that, you know what, the pressure is on. I think he is living amongst that community, and I think it's a matter of time before they crack this case.
Yeah.
And I think they're working on reverse genealogy right now, or forensic genealogy, to hone in on this killer.
Hitting it with technology and heart that this person's squirming real quick, Casey.
Trying to get him to come forward and confess, basically saying that is your best bet right now. I still think you have a little bit of conscience. Do the right thing.
Well,
that would solve it.
Yeah.
That would solve
exactly.
it without the genealogy. Just do the right thing and come forward.
And they're still taking tips, too. They need your help as well. they need your help as well.
So if people see any change in any type of behavior, or if they find an item that doesn't belong in the home or to this person.
Thanks again for watching the Delphi murders. It's going to be solved soon. Trust.